It was the summer of 2006. I was 16 and, like most teenagers, thought I was invincible. Life was simple. School, friends, the occasional stroll through my town, and long summer nights. But that night, everything changed. It started like any other evening. I was heading to the park near the city center just to meet a few friends. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you notice every creak of a lamppost, every rustle of leaves. The park had always been a place of freedom, empty swings swaying in the wind, the scent of grass, the distant hum of the city. But that night, it felt different, heavy, oppressive. I was walking along the gravel path, headphones in, music loud, trying to shake off an uneasy feeling in my chest. And then I noticed it. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the streetlights, a shadow at the edge of the tree line, darker than anything around it. But when I blinked, it had moved closer. Not like a person walking, but sliding, gliding along the ground as if it had no weight. My heart skipped a beat. I tried to ignore it. Probably some drunk kid messing around, I told myself. But deep down, something told me this wasn't normal. The park was empty, completely empty, and yet I could feel it. That cold pressure like ice creeping along my spine. I decided to leave. I quickened my pace, and so did the shadow, or at least it seemed to follow. Not by walking, but by presence. It felt alive, sentient, a darkness that belonged to no person, moving with purpose. By the time I reached the streetlights, I had broken into a sprint. The shadow didn't chase in a conventional sense. It didn't need to. I could feel its gaze, heavy and suffocating, pressing down on me. When I finally reached home, I slammed the door and locked it. I tried to convince myself it was gone, but that night I couldn't sleep. Every corner of my room seemed darker than it should be. Every shadow moved just a little too naturally, lingering, waiting. The next few days were hell. I avoided the park entirely, but even walking the streets near my house felt wrong. I felt it in every dark alley, every empty street, always just beyond my vision, a presence that waited silently. I began noticing patterns. It wasn't just in the park anymore. Sometimes I would glance at the living room window and see a black shape standing in the reflection. At first I blamed the angle of the streetlight. Then it moved. That's when I knew. This wasn't my imagination. I started documenting things. I kept a notebook by my bed, jotting down every sighting, every feeling. At first it was small, flickers in the corner of my eye, shadows stretching oddly. But night after night, it escalated. One evening, I decided to test it. I took my old camcorder and set it up in the park. I wanted evidence. Maybe seeing it on tape would make it real, or at least explainable. I left the camera on a bench, pretending to be casual, and walked through the park. When I watched the footage later, I couldn't breathe. The shadow appeared before I even arrived. A tall, black figure standing among the trees, completely still, and then it moved as I approached, sliding across the ground unnaturally. No limbs, no face, just darkness shaped like a man, taller than any normal human, with edges that seemed to ripple and shift. I thought I could leave it behind, but it followed me home that night. I was lying in bed when I first felt it press down on my chest. Not a person sitting on me, but a force, tangible and suffocating. My chest hurt, my limbs wouldn't move. It was like it had reached inside me and gripped my fear. The next few nights were worse. I tried every trick I knew. Lights on, windows open, moving furniture, burning incense. Nothing worked. Sometimes I would wake up and find the shadow at the foot of my bed, just watching. Other times it was by the window, staring inside with no eyes, no face. I started noticing subtle changes in myself. I was constantly on edge, sleep-deprived, paranoid. I couldn't focus in school, couldn't eat properly. My friends noticed. They thought I was losing it. I didn't tell them. How could I? They would never understand. And honestly, I wasn't sure I understood it myself. It became clear that this wasn't just a haunting. It was intelligent, malevolent, and it was attached to me. One night I tried to confront it. I turned on every light in my room, grabbed a flashlight, and said aloud, "I know you're here. What do you want?" Silence, but then a pressure. A cold, oppressive weight that pressed down on me. And then a whisper. Not words, not in my language, just an intent I could feel. Fear, pain, hunger. I fell to the floor, shaking, gasping for air. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I could only stare as the darkness in the corner thickened, pulsing like a living thing. After that night, I left my house for a few days. Stayed with relatives, friends, anywhere I could escape. But it followed me, always waiting, lurking in shadows I couldn't explain. Weeks passed, and I started noticing it even in daylight. On a sunny street under the brightest lights, there would be a patch of darkness that clung unnaturally, sliding along with me. People didn't see it. I couldn't tell anyone. And with each encounter, it grew stronger. I could feel its presence in my mind, like it was studying me, learning my fears, anticipating my movements. I tried to fight it. I tried rituals I read online, prayers, chants. Nothing worked. Every attempt to confront it only made it more present. And I realized it didn't need to attack me directly. It fed on my fear, on my isolation, on the terror it inspired. One night I decided I couldn't stay silent anymore. I set up multiple cameras around my house and in the park. I needed proof. I needed to understand. I recorded for 3 nights straight. When I reviewed the footage, I couldn't believe my eyes. The shadow moved on its own. It appeared and disappeared. It lingered near the cameras, bending the light, twisting the images. In one clip, it followed me home, though I had taken a completely different route. It was impossible. It was everywhere and nowhere at once. That's when I realized the truth. It wasn't a person. It wasn't human. It was older than me, older than the city, older than anyone I knew. It existed to terrify, to haunt, to follow, and it had chosen me. I never went back to that park alone. I never walked the streets at night without company. But even today, years later, I feel it sometimes. Out of the corner of my eye, a shadow that lingers too long. A darkness in the hallway that shifts unnaturally. I don't know why it chose me. I don't know what it wants. All I know is that some shadows are not just the absence of light. They are alive, watching, waiting. And if you ever feel that icy presence in the corner of your vision, if you ever see darkness move where no light should reach, don't turn away. Whatever you do, don't ignore it. Because some shadows are patient, some wait for years, and some never leave. If this story sent chills down your spine, like, share, and subscribe for more true life horror experiences. And remember, shadows are not always harmless.